Okay, hello. This is Michelle Bullock, licensed massage therapist in the state of Washington, and I'm here to teach you about all things MBLEx. That's the Massage and Bodywork Licensing Exam. In this video, we're going to be sneak peeking my free mini course that is Start Strong, How to Apply for and Prepare for the MBLEx. And then we're going to be talking about some questions that the viewers have had regarding pathology, medical terminology, and a little bit of test anxiety. If all of that seems like it could be really useful to you, then go ahead and stick around through the video and we're going to learn a lot more. So just a quick introduction to myself. I just wanted to relay why I'm here for anyone new, why I do what I do here, creating content for students that are eventually going to be massage therapists, but first need to cross the hurdle of the Massage and Bodywork Licensing Exam. The reason that I do this is because I know for myself, when I was in massage school, it was really hard for me to wrap my mind around a lot of the content that I was getting blasted at. Unfortunately, there's only a small piece of time where everyone can get together for the classes, whether that be over Zoom or in person. The instructors only have so much time to go over everything with you, and then you have the books. And then the books were really, really hard for me. I needed to understand the concepts first, and then I could go back to the books and be like, oh, here's a refresher because I already understand the concepts. But I needed to understand the concepts first through the spoken word and through a presentation where someone who knew what they were talking about was discussing it, and it had to be integrated into part of my life in order for it to be stuck into my long-term memory. Then I could look at a book. That's just how my mind works, and I'm assuming that a lot of you have the same issue, that it's just book reading just doesn't work for you. So that's why there are a few of us out there on the internet that will create some content for you that's a little bit easier to absorb. So I created a little mini course in addition to the 2 other resources that I have for free. If you look in the description below, you'll find the free study guide and the free 100 question practice test that you can just download and use however you want. I created a mini course for students who hadn't been exposed yet to the MBLEx process, or who had been out of school for a long time and couldn't remember what the process was for applying for the MBLEx, or for students who were still early in their massage school journey and just wanted to get as much information as possible about what to expect. And I found that there was a need to simplify the process so that it didn't seem so overwhelming, so that we wouldn't procrastinate, right? So there needed to be a step-by-step process of how to apply for the MBLEx. And there needed to be an understanding of how to study for the MBLEx, because all of this new stuff can be really overwhelming, especially if you've been out of school for a little while and you can't remember. It's just like it was so overwhelming in the first place, it might have traumatized you. And then on top of that, it's been a while. So just a simplified reintroduction. That's what this course is all about. That's why I made it. I wanted to create a reminder that the process of applying for, preparing for, and taking the MBLEx is a challenging process, but it isn't impossible, and that you have the right and you have the ability to become a licensed massage therapist as long as you made it through school. And that's the only hurdle, is the MBLEx. And so I wanted to make that as easy as possible for as many people as possible. Now my course, it's called Start Strong, How to Apply and Prepare for the MBLEx, is broken down into 6 modules, and I'm going to talk about each one a little bit so you know what to expect. You're going to learn about how the exam was created by the Federation of State Massage Therapy Boards, why they created it, and how they put the exam together. You're going to be learning about how the exam is given to you, that is the computer format, in a specific kind of test facility, to make sure that the security is appropriate, to make sure that you are the person that is taking the test. And I go through step by step in how to apply for the exam, how to notify your school that you've applied for the exam, because the Federation of State Massage Therapy Boards is going to check in to make sure that you have the proper credentials in order to take the exam, or how to get your transcripts sent to the Federation of State Massage Therapy Boards. So there's going to be a PDF checklist that's attached to each module to help keep you on track. Check each step so that you know that you're on the right track for getting that MBLEx taken care of. And then I talk about how to study, how to prepare for taking the test. I talk about the content of the test and the way that it's administered, how to answer the questions properly. And then I attach a PDF of that study guide and practice test that I mentioned earlier. They're also in the modules of the course. So then there's a module about what to expect on test day, what to bring, how to best prepare the night before, and how to be ready on the day of the test. And then I talk about the pass or fail experience, including little anecdotes about what it was like for me to receive my passing notification when I finished the test. So you can download that right now for free. It's going to be in the description box below this video and a lot of my other videos as well. It's in my link tree and it's also on my website. So anytime that you're ready to go ahead and take that course, there you go. I really want to see you all out there licensed, ready to earn a living, helping people in their bodies and in their minds. Okay, moving on, we're going to be talking about some more questions that I've been receiving lately from students. You can comment in this video or in any of the videos that I have posted on my channel, and you can also send me questions if you want to be anonymous about it. Send me questions through info@michellebullock.lmt.com. All of that information about how to contact me is in the description. You can get to my website through the link tree and all that. info@michellebullock.lmt.com is my contact if you want to send questions that way. So that's how people have been sending me questions. And so let's go through and see what people wanted to know. One question I have is, do I need to memorize every pathology? No, you don't have to have every pathology memorized. When the MBLEx is testing, it wants to know that generally you have some guidelines, some patterns sorted out so that you can keep your clients as safe as possible. So you want to look for specific red flags, and that's when you're like looking at their health history, or when you have them on the table, you want to be looking for specific things like circulatory issues. You want to be looking at things like neurological issues, lymphatic issues. Those are the big red flags that you want to be looking out for in the health history. And then when you have them on the table, you want to be looking out for those varicosities on their legs, and you want to look for like swelling in their legs as well. Edema is what we're looking for. That's the big one. Swelling because of deep vein thrombosis in the legs, and swelling because of lymphedema. Those are the big ones, right? And then if they don't write it down in their chart that they have a history of heart disease, the MBLEx might ask you, like say they write they're taking hypertensive or anticoagulant medication, but they haven't written that they have any kind of specific heart disease. It wants you to follow up on that. Instead of saying like, I need to know all the details of every specific kind of heart disease there is. Just want to be able to look out for the red flags when it comes to that pathology. How to know the difference between local and systemic issues. So if somebody has a systemic contraindication, then you know that you can't treat them at all. And if somebody has something that's just a sprain in their ankle that just needs to rest and heal, then you know you need to surround the dragon and come back up and don't be working on that. And they also want you to know generally how to avoid specific issues. If the local contraindication is on a limb, starting superior and working your way up, that's the kind of stuff that they're looking for, rather than understanding specific details about particular pathologies. However, when you are studying for the exam and you're taking practice tests, when there are specific questions, you can use those questions as an opportunity to help you remember those patterns. So, and by the way, I do have a 10 test practice test bundle. So your first practice test you can have absolutely free. You can check it out, see if you like the style, where you print up the tests and then you can actually set and then you can set a timer for 110 minutes and then do the practice test all the way through. And then when you're finished, once you finish 100 questions in 110 minutes, which helps you to prepare, then you can go through your answers, and that's where a lot of learning happens. That's another way that I learned a lot when I was studying for the MBLEx, is that I took as many practice tests as I could, and I was watching a lot of videos or listening to a lot of videos in the process. For me, it was absorbing information through my ears and then utilizing that information by taking the practice tests. So moving on, here's another question. Client assessment feels vague. What am I supposed to know for the test? So client assessment accounts for 17 out of 100 questions in the MBLEx, 17%. And the reason that it feels so vague as a topic is because it overlaps so many other topics. It asks you to take all of the information from all of the other sections of the MBLEx and use that information when you're in these test scenarios of looking at the health intake, interviewing, and creating a plan for your client. So that integration is the 17%. Facts that you could know for the MBLEx pretty much have to do with what goes on to the health intake and what are the components of the SOAP chart, or what are the appropriate steps for creating a treatment plan. So those are like the facts that you should know, but otherwise, most of that section, the client assessment section, is about using what you have learned in your guidelines for professional practice, in your benefits and effects of massage therapy, your techniques, your strokes, and then also pathology. So integrating all of that, and ethics, absolutely, integrating all of that into your experience interacting with your client. A big thing to keep in mind is remembering to ask clarifying questions. It's pretty likely that you'll get a question like that on the MBLEx about how to follow up and learn more from little bits of information that you might be getting from your client, or how to find out more through open-ended questions about what they're experiencing, asking for more details so that you can provide a better experience. What we're trying to do is provide our client with the best experience possible, get them the best care, and have it be as safe as possible. And so those are the things that we need to keep in mind for client assessment. Palpation skills are really important, which is not something that is really easy to test, except that they might ask something like, when you go to palpate a client, when you get them on the table, you go to palpate them and you feel a certain texture to the tissue, what kind of adjustments are you going to be making in the treatment? And when it comes to assessment and reassessment, it's really important to be able to clarify how to pivot in a treatment when things aren't as they seem once you get your client on the table or once they've had a couple of treatments. Getting their subjective feedback, looking at your objective findings, and tweaking the plan to make sure that they get the best care possible. So it's not asking you to diagnose anybody. It's just saying, it's asking like, are you paying attention? What details are you noticing? But if you have been doing any kind of studying in any of the other areas of the MBLEx, you have already learned a lot of skills. And then add to that your clinical experiences, and you're going to be well on your way to doing well and passing in the client assessment section. So here's another, I guess, question. I keep mixing up medical terms. What's the best way to learn them? Medical terminology. Medical terminology is often Greek or Latin based, so memorizing roots is really important. Also, slowing down when you're doing practice test questions and you have a question that's asking about a specific pathology or anatomy and physiology question, slow down for a second, look at the word that you're like, I don't know what this means, and break it down and try to find analogies in another area of your life. So we have the terms like gastro or dermo or dermato or cranio or pneumo. So we've got oculo is eye, and myo is muscle. So if every time that you get exposed to these Latin or Greek, you're supposed to be really good for helping out. What else do we have? Pedo or pod-o, that's foot, right? Pathology, right? So when it comes to medical terminology, having those kinds of roots sorted out in your mind, practicing with it as much as possible. If there are gaps, then I definitely suggest trying out some flashcards. But otherwise, I'm pretty sure that most of us have been exposed to the world enough that we can kind of make an analogy when we see a word that we don't recognize to try to put it together. Itis is inflammation. Osis is a specific state, right? So scarring of the liver, and cirrhosis is scarring of the liver. Osteoporosis is bones become weak and brittle. So, we can, when we have an idea of what it means in other words, then that helps us to be able to put it together. Just slow down. That's a big thing. It's just slow down and think about where you've seen words like that before and make your best guess when you're taking the test. Okay, so yeah, context practice, that's what that means. What if I get anxiety and blank out on the test? Okay, so I do have a video about anxiety, how to deal with that. That's going to be coming out I think that's coming out this week. So check that video out. But essentially, the strategy for when you're in the test and you blank and you're so nervous that you just blank out and you're like, oh my God, I can't even read this question right now. I'm like freaking out. Remember to box breathe. Just stop for a second and remember that this is just your brain. This does not actually mean anything. It doesn't mean anything about you and your ability to pass the test. It doesn't mean anything about your studying. It doesn't mean anything that's real in the situation at the time. You have to stop and breathe, because remember that when we are in anxiety, all the blood is going to our extremities and it keeps us from being able to think straight. Your nervous system is just saying, I just need to get you out of here so that you can be safe. And so it's like, don't do anything else but get the heck out of here. Imagine like how it is when it's fight, flight, and freeze. So freeze is that's the freeze response when you totally blank out, right? So breathe. That's the biggest thing first, is to stop for a second. Give yourself 30 seconds and just breathe. It's not that long in the scheme of it to be able to just get yourself together again. Don't just like freak out and just start choosing answers without looking at the question. Take a breath. It's going to be okay. And remember that you are not the situation and that you can pull yourself together. Just give yourself a second. And make sure and check out that anxiety video that I'll be posting here in a couple of days. And it's a long form video that gives you some great understanding of what's going on in your body physiologically when you have anxiety, and gives you some tools on how to get ready. Another thing that I promote as much as possible, get your nervous system familiar with timed testing so that it doesn't seem like such a strange thing when you're actually in the situation. So that's why I created that 10 test bundle, so that you can practice over and over and over again doing timed tests, so having practice over and over again with the time limit, completing all 100 questions, so that your mind is familiar with the process. So let's see, here's the last one. I'm studying hard, but how do I know if I'm ready? How do you know if you're ready? I didn't know if I was ready. I think most of us, there might be a few people that are like, oh, I'm so great. I know that I know everything. And then they just go, well, lucky you. But most of us are never going to feel ready for the MBLEx. But you can hedge your bets by doing as many practice tests as possible to study. Do as many practice tests as possible. And then when it comes time to actually take the test, know that you have done your best. If I had to do this over again, even if I had taken a break for a year or longer after being in massage school, I would set a date. I would give myself maybe 2 or 3 months to study, and I would set a date, and I would create a study plan. I would stick to that, and then I would just show up knowing that I did my best. And if I don't pass, it's okay. I can do it again. And I'll be even more ready when I retake that test in 30 days. 30 days is the soonest that you can take it again if you don't pass. But at some point, you just have to say, okay, I'm going to get a good night's sleep tonight. I'm going to eat a good breakfast tomorrow. I'm going to show up for the test, and I'm going to do my best. And that's all I can do. So that's my answer to that. All right, so I hope you got as much as you could out of understanding a little bit more about that mini course that I created. And we looked at some questions about pathology and client assessment, test anxiety, how to know that you're ready. Keep up the great work. Keep watching the videos. Watch out for the anxiety video. And also, I'm working on the 4th video in my muscles that you need to know series. That is the head and neck muscles. I'm going to be recording that right after this one. So that one's going to be coming up in just a couple more weeks. So watch out for all those videos that are coming up. If you love the content that you're getting out of this channel, make sure to subscribe. Please like the video. Please throw your comments in. Ask any questions that you need to know. Any point of confusion that you have, we can learn about it together. We can support each other in the comments and in the follow-up videos from the questions that you have. And thank you so much for tuning in. It means so much to me. And I will see you in the next video.